Hey guys, this is Jerry. So, when I was in high school, I saw this documentary called Loose Change, and that documentary's gone through many versions, so I don't remember which version. I think I saw version 2 or version 3. The reason I bring up that documentary is because the documentary brought up something that happened in 1945, and today's the anniversary of it. And basically what Loose Change did was it used that event as a kind of a counter example as to why the planes that hit the towers in 9/11 should not have been able to bring down the Twin Towers. So I wanted to bring it up. On this day in 1945, so July 28th, 1945, there was a bomber like this, a B-25 bomber, and this bomber was flying through New York. I don't know why the fuck this thing thought it was a good idea to fly through Manhattan, but it was flying through Manhattan, and then there was a lot of fog. This was the morning. It's basically flying at level with some of these really tall skyscrapers in New York. And then, you know what happens? It hits the Empire State Building. So this bomber is going at about 224 miles per hour, and it hits the 87th floor of the Empire State Building. So these are some pictures I found online of the damage. The bomber created this huge ass hole on the 87th floor right here. Went in there. Imagine a big ball of flames. You could probably feel it here all through Manhattan from what I've read. One of the engines of the bombers, so one of these two engines went flying through the building. It cut through the elevator cables, and one of the elevators on the Empire State Building just went, it dropped so far, and there's actually a woman stuck on there, and she somehow survived the fall. She fell like 50 floors in the elevator, but she somehow survived. The 87th floor was destroyed, and thank goodness this was a Saturday. So this was a Saturday back in 1945, and something like only 14 people were killed. Can you believe it? Only 14 people were killed. And the moral to this story was the Empire State Building did not collapse after the B-25 hit it. There was a little bit of fire, a lot of wreckage, some people died, but the Empire State Building not only did not collapse, but 3 days later on Monday, everything went back to normal and businesses actually opened up again, and everyone went back to work on the Empire State Building. So Loose Change was like, yeah, you see, look at that, man. Another big, iconic, tall building, another plane hit it, and why the fuck didn't that building collapse? So that's been on my mind for a while, and I forgot about it, honestly, and then I saw that it was the anniversary, so I decided to just look it up again. And one of the things I want to bring up is the design of the Empire State Building is very different from the design of the Twin Towers. The World Trade Center was designed for office space. It wanted to maximize office space. So I have a picture here, very interesting. Check this out. This is the, do you see this? This is the Empire State Building when it was being built up. What you see is, it's what's called a honeycomb design. If you see the inside of a honeycomb, like a bee's nest, basically there's steel beams and concrete, and it's covering the entire building. So from the outside all the way to the inside. So from the outside all the way to the inside of the building, it's just steel beams holding it up. So it's very structurally solid and sound. So if you look at the design of the Twin Towers, I wish I had a picture for you, but you have an outside layer, right? The outside layer of steel beams, and then it's all office space, so nothing really solid holding it up. And then there's the center area with a lot of steel beams, right? So during 9/11, when the 767s went boom into it, it broke not just the outside, but it actually broke some of the inner layers of the structure. The Twin Towers, the architecture kind of contributed to the whole building collapsing. And on top of that, this is a much smaller plane than the jets that hit the Twin Towers, right? This could probably transport like 40 people. the jets that hit the Twin Tower, I don't know, could transport like 200, 300 people. So it was a much bigger plane that hit the Twin Towers, and the plane was also going much faster. You know, force, if in physics, force is mass times acceleration. So the planes were bigger, so the mass was bigger, the acceleration was more. So there's more force hitting the building. On top of it, the building, the Twin Towers, were not designed as structurally sound as the Empire State Building. I'm not saying that this proves that every speculation, every conspiracy about the 9/11 whatever is false. I'm not saying that. All I'm saying is when Loose Change used the Empire State Building and the plane that hit that on this day as a counterexample, it wasn't a proper example. It's an analogy that doesn't work because it's two different buildings, two different planes, just very different scenarios. So that's all I have to say. I encourage you guys to look up this incident. It's crazy that, you know, it's not the first time a plane's hit a tall ass building in New York, and it's really, really an interesting thing to read up on, especially the fact that just everything just was on a weekend and not many people were there, so like it could have been much worse, right? What if it was a weekday? It could have been much worse. So it's very interesting, but for conspiracy theorists who want to use this case as any proof of the Twin Towers collapse being orchestrated by whatever government, CIA, whoever they say it is, it's not a good example. So that's all I have to say. Another thing is I'm trying to interview some of the people who are part of the 9/11 for Truth, or what are they called? The 9/11 Engineers for Truth. Basically, they're like engineers, architects who don't believe that jet fuel can melt the steel beams, or don't believe that the plane hitting the Twin Towers could have caused the pancake effect. So I'm trying to interview them, and I hopefully will interview them soon so I can bring it on this channel. But for those of you watching, what do you think? What do you think about 9/11? What do you think about everything? Do you believe the official story? Were you there? Like, were you in America? Where were you when this happened? I would love to hear your stories. And if you want me to do more videos on this, let me know. Thank you guys so much. Bye-bye.